Welcome to I Do This for a Living, a show that questions everything about work culture and asks how we can give as much time and energy to the things that matter as we do to the things that pay. Sometimes the things that matter pay, and we'll talk about that too. I'm Serenity writer, project manager, and Melissa Cassera fan, which is important because she is my guest today. I'm so excited to have you. Did I say your name correctly?
You did.
Excellent. Okay, so I really debated how to set you up for an intro. The entire episode is sort of a getting to know you and what you do. So the intro is really a teaser, if you will. But I think I have a good idea for you. I learned about you online years ago when you were teaching people how to get their ideal customer interested in what they were selling. It was called Obsessed. Do you still do the Obsessed program?
I don't. I do
Okay.
not. Yes.
Okay. Well, it was called Obsessed, and it was about letting your audience know you, not just your product. So, along those lines, I want you to imagine I come up to you at a party and I say, like, I'm kind of sick of talking to people about their jobs. I want to know who you really are. What would you tell me?
That's a good question. I'm a girl who loves obsession. To be honest, that's it. Um, if I were to give my formal intro, it's that I'm a screenwriter and author and publicity strategist, and I help entrepreneurs and creatives become obsessed with their work. So that's my formal intro. But frankly, I think of myself outside of my job title. So that's why I just say I'm a girl who has lots of obsessions.
I love it. And you have lots, you say?
I do. Yeah.
So I hope we get to hear about some of those as we keep going. So the first segment I'm gonna do, I should change the title. It's a really boring title. Billable hours. The hours that actually pay you.
Mhm.
What would you say? What would you tell us you do for a living?
Yeah, so I'm a storyteller for a living. That's my main gig. That's what my billable hours are, and that plays out in multiple ways. I'm a screenwriter, so I write film and television, mostly film or film for television, if that makes sense. I write a lot of
Yeah.
thrillers, also rom-coms and other things, and I write books as well under my name and under a pen name. And I also write for clients, so that can be anything from entrepreneurs to corporate executives who need speeches. And in all of those realms, I'm telling stories.
I love it. I love that you can simplify to that title. That you're a storyteller. That's wonderful. I like to kind of talk to people who want your job someday. What would you say how you got there slash what does it take to get there?
That's a good question and kind of a tough question at the same time, but it is a good one and I understand it. Um, I have a lot of different facets to the work that I do, as I mentioned, and what I find is a lot of people are most interested in like how to become a screenwriter or how to become an author. Generally, that's like most of the interest because those are incredibly difficult
Yeah.
areas and profession to get into, right? I think it's, like, easier to win the lottery, like, win a big sum in the lottery than it is to become a screenwriter. There's some
It
strange
does feel that way.
yeah, some strange statistic on that. Um, but I think that as far as how I got there is, I look at myself as a storyteller from a higher level, and I play that out in multiple different ways. So I don't really hinge my worth on one particular thing. I like to tell stories for TV just as much as I like to tell stories for an entrepreneur. Like both of those are very exciting to me in the
Wow.
same way. So I don't look at one as like more worthy or valuable than another. And I learn something from all of those jobs and all of those clients. Like I always learn things that then cross over into other realms. So when people ask me like how do I get into this, I think you want to look at what you want to do from a higher level and not get so caught up in like it has to be this one thing. I'm only going to an example would be I'm only going to write on a television show, right? I hope you do. I think you should hold that goal for yourself and I think you should strive for that goal and go for it and I want that to happen for you. I also would not close yourself off to other opportunities because when I look back at and I'm only taking the screenwriting piece because that's generally the one most people are interested in. When I look back at like how did I really achieve that? It was because I had so much experience already as a storyteller for entrepreneurs, brands, companies, executives, because I knew how to tell a story. And when I was going out and networking, no one wanted to talk about my scripts. No one wanted to talk about how much I wanted to be a screenwriter. They all wanted to talk about, like, my time in pharmaceuticals. They all wanted to talk they wanted to talk about my life, my professional life outside of being a screenwriter, and the reason is because all of the stories that you bring to fiction, right, to narrative or scripted work, come from your unscripted life, right? The
Oh
things that
my
you
goodness.
experience there. So, what I would say is like look from a high level, what do you want to be? What do you want to do? And then think of different ways that you can play that out. I said on my podcast, adjacencies. We had an episode recently where I talked about that. It's like look for adjacencies, right? And that may not be the exact thing that you want to do, but it's something that's going to help and fuel that.
Adjacencies. I don't think I've ever heard that word. I have listened to your podcast, but not that episode, I guess. I love that word. That's so good. Although I gotta say, sometimes I have avoided writing, for instance, in, the day job land because I wanted it for my free time, but okay, I love that don't limit yourself to one thing. I have done that, Melissa. I had a friend she said to me, "What's next for you? What do you need to get the dream job or the life that you want?" I said, "I need a traditional book deal for a novel."
Mhm.
She said, "Why are you so specific about that?" I said, "I just am pretty sure that's the next thing I need." And it didn't happen, and she was right. It's not why was I limiting myself to that? It's yeah, I love that. Try to figure out who you are and then there's different ways that could play out. That's so good. Also, you do know how to tell a story. One of my favorite emails from you was I follow Melissa's email newsletter. I have for years. It's my favorite one. Your voice is so encouraging. It's so encouraging. I read every one of your emails. What I really read is, "You can do it." That's what I hear. And, you had a series about y how to tell a story in an email, how to open your email so people get the hook and they want to hear what's going on, and then you finish your story, and it was just brilliant. Okay, so ooh, is that a good question for you? Because it's you have such a varied work life. Can you tell me 3-ish things that you do almost every day?
Yeah, I can tell you 3-ish things I do every day. Well, one is storytell in some capacity. So and the reason I don't say writing, because I think that would be a common one, right? Like a writer writes every day. I actually don't say that because that's not true. I don't always put pen to paper every single day. But writing takes place outside of like um, pen on paper or fingers on keys. It takes usually my best ideas, frankly, come when I'm out walking my dog. That's like anytime I'm stuck, I just go for a walk, and then that's when I get unstuck. So I count that as writing time because that's when all the good stuff happens anyway. So there is some component of storytelling every day, but that doesn't always look like me putting pen to page. Um, so that's one thing I do every day. Number 2, something that I do every day is connect. So it's this is so, so important if you want to do literally anything. It's your network matters. And I don't mean like connecting for the sake of I'm going to reach out and like only reach out to this person because I want them to buy something from me. I don't or I want them to give me an opportunity. I do not mean that. I'm a big fan of just connecting because I genuinely want to connect with that person. And that could play out in different ways. It may just be, hey, I'm checking in because I haven't talked to you in a while. Let's get coffee or let's do a Zoom date. It could mean that maybe I do have an offer for that person. Sometimes that is the case. Like I just had that today. Reconnected with a client from 3 years ago who I was like, hey, there's this thing that I'm doing. I think it's perfect for you. And we're doing it. So it just depends on what that is. But connection is so important if you want to accomplish anything because, your network is everything. And then I'd say the third thing that I do every day, and I'm not always good at this, I'm getting better, is I do a little celebration or gratitude. You could call it kind of anything, but I try to close the day with acknowledging. I'm a big like pen and paper in my notebook girl. I try to close the day acknowledging what I'm grateful for or what I want to celebrate within that day because I'm
Oh my
somebody who will
gosh.
steamroll right over things that have happened and to the point where it used to like it would become like I have a book coming out and I'd be like, "Oh shoot, I had a book that came out today." I mean, I just wouldn't even or like I have a movie on today and my husband would be like, "What is wrong with you?" Like you're so
Celebrate.
blasé. And I just wouldn't even celebrate what would be maybe considered larger accomplishments. So now I stop myself so that I'm not just taking a moment of pause to celebrate those larger things, but also taking a moment of pause to just really celebrate anything, right? Which could be I got myself to the gym this morning. Yay, me, pat on the back, right? So it's like putting your focus on that versus, oh, what didn't happen today, or the things I didn't tick off my list, or the no's that I got. Because in the industry that I'm in, you get no's daily, right? It's very, very common. You get no's, you get critique, you get right all of those things, rejections, all rejection and
Mhm.
critique, which is fine. You build that muscle, and it's not a big deal. But it's very you can get lost in that sauce if you don't shift your mindset to okay, what do I want to celebrate today?
I'm applying that immediately. I love that so much. I need to do it. That's really good. Um, what is one thing about your work that matters?
Mm.
Or more things than one?
Yeah, what matters in my work? I mean, I think, well, first, being on this podcast matters for sure, which is, it's great that when you reached out to me to ask me to be a guest, like, I love that you reached out because something that I sent in the past, or maybe multiple things I sent in the past, had an impact on you. So that matters. I care the most about like individual one on one when somebody reaches out to me and says, "Hey, you said this one thing in an email 5 years ago." I had I had somebody tag me on actually, I had someone tag me on Instagram today. They made a video and they tagged me. They're like, "Melissa told me this 13 years ago." And they're
Wow.
like, "I still repeat it to this day." And I was like, "See, that's why I do this." Um, because, like, that matters. If I can make a difference for somebody, and I prefer it to be like that single person. I love when it's just like that one person. If I can make a difference or they call it, I don't this isn't my term, but there's a term out there called day maker. And if you could like make someone's day, right?
Yeah.
I think that matters, and that could be, as you've said, maybe I sent something that was encouraging, "You can do it," which, yes, that is very much my my vibe. So I try to do that. I try to just encourage people in life, and that doesn't just go through my business. I mean, that's just in general, friends, if I, meet people out, if I go to the gym, whatever. Like, I always try to hype people up because I think that's important, and I want them to do whatever they want to do and try to go for whatever they want to accomplish.
I'm the same. That whole individual thing, it makes such a difference. And you know that somebody listened, somebody cared, what I did mattered.
Mhm.
That's really good. What is something you wish about work?
Well, I wish it was more optional. And there is a book called Work Optional, which is it's one of my favorite books. I recommend it to
On it.
everybody.
Okay,
The
that's getting on my list right now.
It's so good. The premise really is that, a lot of people are working for retirement, right? That's okay too. I think it's just individual what speaks to you. However, uh, I'm someone who I'm not really looking to retire in 10 years and 20 years. I can kind of see myself working in some capacity for like a very long time because my work is quite fun. I enjoy it. However, I don't want to feel beholden to it, right? If I want to take off a month, 6 months, a year, take those sabbaticals, if you will, I wanna be able to do that.
Yeah.
So, work optional is is what I wish it was more for everyone, um, because we all need those seasons of rest or adventure, whatever you want that season to be that's not tethered to work. So and I also think it's something I'm very passionate about is, like, work not being identity.
Mhm.
And it's because I was that person long, long time ago, and I'm not that person now. It took a lot of therapy to unravel that, and I'm so much happier and more fulfilled now because I'm not identifying with, I got this opportunity or I am this title or I got this promotion. Those things are all great. Yay, celebrate, back pat, that's awesome. But at the end of the day, it doesn't like make me who I am. And so then there's not that like roller coaster of ups and downs, which you will experience if your worth is all tethered into your work. So
Yeah.
work optional, I think is great from a just a strategic standpoint of like building your life and having it so that you can take those sabbaticals or breaks, but also from a mental health standpoint as well, like untethering yourself to a certain outcome.
I just want that to be our whole episode because that's what I feel too is, I always say less of it. I want less of the stuff you gotta do just to pay the bills and more of what we wanna do, and, because I don't mind work. It is fulfilling to accomplish things and to get things done, but it's the restrictive, 8 to 5 thing for someone else. Yeah, wish it was optional too, so
Yeah.
I'm with you. Okay, let's see which direction I wanna go next. I think I wanna do astronauts and rock stars with you. Have you heard the song "Don't Quit Your Daydream," Lily Meola?
No.
She was
No,
on
I ain't
I
doing.
think she was on America's Got Talent or
Ooh,
something.
okay.
My daughter-in-law told me about the song, and so that's what this segment is based on, astronauts and rock stars, like what we used to dream.
Okay.
So, do you have an early memory or either the earliest or just most definitive memory of having an answer to the question, "What do you wanna be when you grow up?"
Oh, yeah, I was very clear about that. When I was a kid, I wanted to be an actor on Broadway. I was that was my like, I was very singularly focused on that and very heavily trained for that. That is what I wanted
So
to do.
you pursued it.
I never actually really pursued it, because I decided to go to college and, like, do the do the thing, do the res I'll put this in quotes,
Yeah.
for people that can't see, the responsible thing. Ultimately, I'm happy I didn't pursue it because I much prefer being behind the camera, although I don't mind being on camera either, but I definitely like it behind the camera for many reasons. But when I was young, I definitely loved, loved, loved performing. I was certainly lacking in many areas that I think if I were to have pursued it, I probably wouldn't have gotten very far. And the reason is I am not a great singer. I took singing lessons for many, 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 many years. And so I didn't have that like triple threat. I'm a pretty good
Yeah.
dancer and like a pretty good actor, but I would say I'm not anywhere near like Broadway worthy. So I don't really know how far I would have gotten had I pursued that actual career path. But when I was quite young, I definitely wanted to do that. And I would say that this was like elementary school, middle school, and part of high school, a little bit of high school. And then I had some personal things that happened that really changed the trajectory of life. So that went out the window.
So what is that it went out the window hard? Like it was painful? You had to grieve it, or was it pretty natural? Like you just sort of moved past it?
Yeah, well, my dad died when I was 15, so there was, like, a
I'm
big
so
sort of
sorry.
life shakeup at the time that really I stopped thinking about any like, dreams. I was just kind of also, I
Yeah.
didn't really have the tools at that time, like, the mental health tools, I think, to know how to, like, cope or process that. Um, and then there were just some other things that happened around that time as well that I just didn't have the tools to, like, process through that. So not to say I, like, had no dreams and making this very tragic, but I certainly didn't, like, think about them anymore. They weren't a priority in my life
My
anymore. So
goodness.
then by the time I got to the age of which you are, like, deciding, "What am I gonna do? Am I gonna go to college?" That kind of thing. I just sort of picked a normal path. At the time I was, like, I was working a ton. I had just graduated high school. I was working full time, managing in retail, and just kind of living that like responsible adult, trying to be an adult life. And so then I went to just a 4-year college with a sensible communications major, which I still do today. So that was actually a really good choice. Um, and yeah, and then I just didn't think much at all, frankly. Look at what there was no grieving of the acting, I guess, at the time. I will say though, it really helped me because I went to college. I got a full-time job in my senior year of college working at Subaru, the car company at their national headquarters. And then I left there shortly after I graduated college and went into pharmaceuticals for 4 years. Then I ran away screaming from that industry and started my own business, which my husband's been a lifelong entrepreneur. So he was always like, "Why are you working for someone else? Like, just go out on your own." So he was very encouraging that way. And so when I went out on my own, I had like I mean, we had capital between the 2 of us, but it was like, I didn't have certainly wasn't money coming in the door right away. It took me a bit. I didn't know what I was doing. Like, I didn't
Yeah.
know how to run a business. I think I was like 25 or 26, somewhere around that age. And, so the way that I actually funded my business early on was I went back into acting and I just went into the area of acting that would make me money, which is commercial acting and
Commercials.
industrials, which industrials are like corporate work where go and play like a nurse. I think I was a nurse for like every possible pharmaceutical company, hospital. It was a big mess because they were all competing and they were like, you can't have her. We have her exclusive for 6 months. It was a very funny, weird time. And I did lots of like what I would call like unsexy jobs like in flooring commercials, like ridiculous stuff. And but it was a real good use of those skills. And I did that, and that was how I started my business. The first couple of years, that was kind of the only way I was making money until I was able to transition.
It came back around. The acting came back around. I also you told that story so articulately, and it's one reason I wanna do this podcast and have, regular Joes, people who may not be able to see their story so clearly, how they went from wanting to be a Broadway actor to not, and whether they grieved or not. And it's because I have done that recently in the last couple of years. I've tried to write kind of my whole story to see it. I just wanted to see it. What did it look like? Why am I not quite what I thought I was going to be when I was younger? Am I okay with the choices I made? Can I change some choices now? And you told that story so well. I can tell you work it out
Oh,
in your
thank you.
own mind. Yeah, a lot. So, did you ever have someone else tell you something you should be?
Huh. No, I think when I was young, again, this is gonna sound like very tragic, and I don't mean for it to. I don't wanna like bring down the vibes. When I was young, I found for whatever reason, maybe did not inspire people to feel that I was very talented or creative in any way. So generally, I would hear people telling me I wasn't going to be something. Like I don't
Oh,
remember there was, if we're talking about like teachers or
Mhm.
coaches or mentors or something, like anybody at that time, no, it was usually like, "You're not good enough, you're not pretty enough, you're not this enough, that enough, that enough." It's also a problem with the industry that I was
Yep.
entering into, right? Then in college, I experienced that again, where I was in a communications program. I was in my senior year, the only person in my class that had gotten a full time job. So I was actually juggling. And I had my professor tell me that I was never going to work in this industry. And I'm like, "Well, I have a job now. I don't know what you mean." Very odd. It was very strange. So I don't know. I think when I look back on it now, it maybe I was bringing an element to things that didn't feel so much in a box. Like I'm a little bit of a troublemaker. I like to I don't know how to keep my mouth closed. And so that maybe was a bit of it. I was questioning things that they didn't feel should be
Mm.
questioned, right? And so that could have contributed to what that was. But yeah, so I kind of felt the opposite where people would tell me that I wasn't going to be something versus I don't think there was maybe there was one time somebody told me I went into a school to read for kids as part of like a Rotary Club, and they told me that I would be a good teacher. That was probably the only time
Oh,
I had anybody
there you go.
say, "You will be a really good teacher," and I'm like, "Oh no, that's not for me, but thank you." Like, bless all the teachers. Like, amazing that
I
you
know.
exist. It just that is not my skill. But that was probably it.
So that's such an interesting answer. Did it make you feisty? Oh, like, "Oh, yes, I can," or did it kinda take time to work through that and decide you could decide for yourself?
Mm, it didn't deter me. Like, it didn't
Good.
deter me. I don't know if it made me feisty or not. I'm kind of feisty. I'm from New Jersey. I think if you've ever met anyone from New Jersey, we have a specific sort of feistiness to us. I grew up in an area where you sort of had to be feisty in order to survive, and so I don't think it didn't like impact me that much. I think it just felt like
That's
this is
awesome.
normal. This is
Yeah.
just what you hear. Maybe a little sad, but it did feel very normal. It was like, I mean, I think my attitude towards it was always like, 90% of the time I'm going to hear this. And then, but there's going to be like somebody out there or some opportunity. And that's
That's so
really been my
good.
experience. It's like 90% of the time it's a no. And then, but there's the 10% out there and you just got to find them and you'll find them. That's it. That's kind of been, I think, my
See?
experience in
See, everyone?
anything.
She says you can do it. That's her message.
Yeah.
You're right about the industry. I had a friend in the industry who was talking to me about rejection and said her husband is an actor and you don't know rejection until you're told that you can't have the part because your eyes are too blue.
Yeah.
There's just no rejection like something you absolutely cannot fix.
And that is true because, I'm on the other side now. So I'm the one watching the casting tapes. You know what I mean? And I'm the one in the meetings with the executives. And I hear what they all say.
Oh boy.
And I mean, I have to give my reasons to a group of people too of why do you have to if I want if I want to cast someone as a lead in my movie, I got to fight for why and why they shouldn't cast the producer's girlfriend. Do you know what I mean? So it's like there's a lot behind the scenes, and the best thing I can say, I know your podcast audience is not all filled with actors necessarily, but if there are actors listening, um, it is not personal. I cannot
Oh,
tell you how impersonal it is, and how ridiculous sometimes the decision is, and it really is nothing to do with you and your talent and your looks. There's just very weird reasons
yeah.
decisions are made, and so I do feel bad, being on the other side of that and knowing, like, how tough it is. Because I was also on in front of the camera. I get it, I've gotten all that
Yeah.
feedback and been confused and been told all sorts of things, and so I think the more you can get it in your head that, like, if it's for you, it's for you. If it's not, it's not. And you really can't question why. Like, you can go in and do the best job you can for sure. But ultimately, it is out of your hands. and they're and they're
I think that's great
yeah.
to be able to say
And
that.
I think that probably goes for everything, jobs. I mean, if you're,
Yes.
pursuing the job market, really
You
anything, there's you can't beat yourself
it's
up.
true. Okay. So you set up this next segment beautifully when you said you ran screaming. I have not been able to do this segment with anyone yet.
Mhm.
It's based on a Taylor Swift song, Time to Go. That's what this segment is called. And I believe you have a quitting story that I'd like to talk about as much as you're comfortable. You talked about being in pharmaceuticals for a little bit, 4 years, I guess you said.
Mhm.
I kind of want to know, when did you know wasn't right and you were going to get out? Was it about the place or was it about where you were headed to, maybe?
Um, well, I think sometimes when you work in industries like that, it's very easy to lie to yourself and look at what's happening around you and think that that's normal. And then there comes a time when you realize like this behavior isn't normal, right? Like and that could be like a conversation that you have with somebody or whatever. You just look outside of that. I so the pharmaceutical industry, or at least I don't want to paint the whole industry with a broad brush. This was just like specific to where I worked. And also the time frame. Like this was now
Okay.
20 years ago. So I mean, certainly things have changed and there are certain laws now in place of what you can and can't do. So I will put that out there. I don't want to like tear down an entire industry. However, at the time that I was involved in this, it was very common for them to recruit young, conventionally attractive people out of college and you know, lure you in a and not to say that we don't have fully developed brains, because we do. So we are also making that decision. So I'm no victim. But they,
Yeah.
bring you into this space where it sounds really amazing because you're getting like a very high salary. Your job seems exciting. You're traveling a lot. You're whining and dining doctors, and but you don't think of it that way. You're thinking of it from like, oh, this is cool. I get to go to like Michelin starred restaurants, and it's all on the company dime. So that's the world that you're entering, and then you kind of quickly, well, not quickly, because you're in an ecosystem, right? So you think in this ecosystem, like, this is very normal. Um, I I'm a very skeptical person, though, so it was pretty early on that I was, like, looking at the different things and being like, "This doesn't seem this doesn't really seem," and no judgment. I say anybody who goes into that and enjoys it and it's fulfilling for them, cool. I have no problems with this.
Yeah.
But then there is also a lot of people who enter that who kinda don't know what they're getting into, and there was just a lot of, like, things that I witnessed and saw and, at the time that I was like, "This is so bonkers, I need to write this down because one day this needs to be a movie." I mean, that is really what I did, and I did. I wrote it all down because I'm like, "This is just so bizarre to me." And, but it was, again, good money, et cetera, et cetera. I think I really enjoyed the people that I worked with for the most part, and so that kinda
That's
kept me
great.
around. I also never really thought of myself as a business owner. I really liked working for someone and getting that praise at the time. I liked that. I liked being the boss's favorite, and I liked getting the raises, and I was, like, very tethered into that. So but then I was
Wow.
like, I feel like this is icky. I don't like the type of work, and what's going on in this company." And, it's like a soap opera, and at some point, you're like, I think this is not for me. So I was thinking of just going and getting a different job or maybe changing to a new industry. And that's when my husband was like, What? No, like, why would you not go work for yourself? Why would you put your future in someone else's hands? This doesn't make any sense." And I'm like, "You don't make any sense." and, so, and we had lots of arguments at the time, and I was like, "Fine, I'll do it for a year." And in my head, I'm like, I'm gonna go get a job after that. This is just for me to like
Wow.
show him that no, this is wrong." And My sassy comes out, right? And so I did that, but then, like, once I left, and it was a tough first year, but I think still I did see, like, the value in doing, and I got excited enough that I wanted to continue. There was a little part maybe halfway through that year that I almost went back to the company that I left.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, and luckily, they didn't have, like, my position anymore, like, so they were like, "But of course, we'd love to have you back." It's just, like, they didn't have an opening, so it was like, "Okay, well, no rush, but, I am in." And then I was like, What am I thinking? What am I thinking?" And then luckily, I stayed away because like, 2 years after that, they laid off, like, half the company, right? And so it was like, of
Oh,
course,
wow.
um, and that
Can you explain the fear or the emotion that was happening that made you almost go back? Was it money?
No,
Was it
no, it
just
was that I wasn't getting praise, like, I was the only one that could
oh,
praise myself. So what I hated it. I was, like, sitting there and I'm like, "No one's telling me I did a good job because I'm the boss," right? And I'm like, "Where's my performance review? Like, where's my boss telling me I'm there?" I was such a baby, I was really a baby about it. I was kicking my feet, like, throwing tantrums. I'm like, "This is awful." I hated it, and, my husband, who was, like, at the time, just more mentally sound than I was because he had gone through a lot of therapy and things. He was just like, "Girl, you need to go to therapy. Like, this is what are you talking about?" And I was very resistant, but then I did, and then I was like, "Okay, like, the problem is me. The call is coming from inside inside the house." And so I realized I was the problem, and I worked through that, and just realizing that was actually at the core what I was craving. I was lying and saying it was stability. Like, I was saying, "Oh, I want that paycheck, that paycheck." And my husband kept saying, "That is not stability. They can lay you up. They control your paycheck." And I'm like, "No, it's the paycheck." And really, I mean, I was not telling the truth. I think I wasn't even actually mentally aware enough to know I wasn't telling the truth at the time. Later, I dug and realized, oh, I was using that as, like, an excuse, but really what I wanted was that validation, right? That felt really
Wow.
good to be like, I got this big job and this fancy life and this salary and my worth, and, look at me and I'm so young, and just all these weird, strange things that I was thinking at the time. Then I was able to shed all of that and realize that it is not healthy to get validation that way. And once I did that, it was not smooth sailing, but it was much smoother sailing than previously. So that was that.
And you've brought that back to your life with your celebrations every day.
Yeah.
You found a way
Yeah, I gotta
to give
validate
yourself a
myself.
performance eval.
It's true, that is very important for anyone working for themselves, is you've gotta learn to not even just work, outside of work too. Like, we've
Yeah.
all gotta learn how to validate ourselves and not be reliant on, other people or a job or an opportunity to do that, because that's a
So good.
slippery slope, right? It's a dangerous
Mhm.
place to go. So, the earlier we can do that, the better, right? And if that's something that whoever's listening is struggling with, like, again, no shame. I've been there. But it is, like, a great thing to work on. A great thing to go to your
I love it.
therapist with next week or this week and just say, "Hey, this is happening." And it's like, it is just such a I'd say, of all, I've worked on lots of things, of course, because 'cause we're all messy humans, but, that was probably one of the most important things I've ever worked on.
I think that's so good. I am learning to do this. I always say I talk really nice to myself because I try to talk to myself like I would talk to a friend or if I was, talking to one of my kids. But I read a lot of books about happiness, designing your life, and this message is the messages that hits me the most is often you have to do. You can't think your way or dream your way into the life you want. You have to do it. And the other day I was thinking to myself, that's my problem. I never do anything. And then I remembered all the things I've done. I do things, and I was able to tell myself I tried this, I tried this. This was successful in my definition of successful. I did this. It was so helpful. I love that. Would you, when it comes to your leaving pharmaceuticals and doing the thing, God bless your husband for pushing you. I think I keep hearing a theme in these episodes that other people are really key to our lives. It's
Yeah.
very they're very helpful. Did you or would you do anything different in how you transitioned or
Hmm.
how quickly you
No, I think I'm good with my path. Um, I mean, maybe it would have been better if I, like, got to therapy earlier and stopped fighting it, but honestly, even that feels like it was the timing is good because I think we all have to, like,
Amazing.
arrive at that. Like,
Mhm.
here's okay, I keep bringing up my husband has lots of little wise words. So one thing that he says is, like, you go to therapy so it's like there's the date that you start going to therapy, and then there's the date that you start being honest in therapy. And so I think that's, like, really key
Yes.
because 'cause I've also experienced that, right? I was a people pleaser growing up, so when I first started going to therapy, I remember it was so bad. Like, I was not sharing anything to the point where, like, my therapist is like, "You're doing so well. Like, I'm not even sure what we should I was like, "Wow, this is
Gold
yeah,
star.
this is on me. I got a gold star in therapy." And
For
who
not having a problem because I wasn't honest.
we had no problems, which is so wrong. And so, I mean, that's on me. Um, so sure, but I think that that's still like again, we arrive at that in our own time. Like I don't think I would go back and say, "Oh, I like wish I was honest sooner," because you know what? I just wasn't there. I wasn't
Yeah.
there. Like we all need to take our time to and it's different for all of us, right? How long that takes. And so I hate to be like, I wish I could have done it faster or sooner. I also am not a person that thinks like it's too late to do anything. That's
Mm.
I don't believe in that at all. If anything, I mean, the the later you come to things, sometimes the better because you come in with so much more knowledge and so much more like conviction in yourself and all of that is so important. Like, thank goodness I didn't start pursuing screenwriting in my 20s. That would have imploded. Imploded. I would I cannot even tell you, I didn't start pursuing it till I think I was 36. Thank goodness, because I don't know oh, no, I do know what would have happened, and it would have been bad. I would have for sure gotten taken advantage of. I would have
Yeah.
probably, like, gotten to a very dark mental place because I wasn't in a good place as it was, right? And I wasn't getting support at the time or just being as honest as I could have been. And so then thrusting that mess into Hollywood, oh boy. So thank goodness.
Oh boy.
So that's why I don't think that way. And again, like even for now, the things I do now, I feel like this is good. The timing feels right. Like it's right for me.
Amazing. I'm just astounded and don't want to keep talking because I just want to hear you talk. So, but I'm going to quote you now. Actually, you're going to do a little therapy session for Serenity, okay? You prepared for this? No. So mine is not from 13 years ago. It's just from July.
Mhm.
You had a Substack post about things you've learned now that you're in your 40s. And this is the quote. I'm not what I do. I write for a living, but I rarely introduce myself that way outside of a professional context. I'm proud of what I do, but I don't lead with it. My work matters, but it's not the most interesting thing about me. The people closest to me care more about who I am than what I produce. Writing is how I process the world, but in my personal life, I'd rather talk about the wild TV show I just watched, a dance class I loved, my garden, or a dinner that blew my mind. Titles are helpful, but they don't tell the whole story. Ooh, I love that so much. I for sure agree. Work is not who I am, but here's kind of what I want to talk to you about. Have you therapy me? Um, you are a writer for a living,
Mhm.
and you say you don't lead with, I'm a writer. I am not a writer for a living, but writing as you said, it's how I process the world. I can be angsty and not really know why for even days at a time. And if I'll just write a Substack post, write in a good journal entry, it usually has to be kind of outward facing for it to really work. But I'm fixed. It's like that's my joy. It's my strength. So I do tend, since I don't want to lead with what I do for my day job, I do tend to lead with I'm a writer because I've settled in my heart that it doesn't have to be I'm a paid writer for a living. So talk to me about that a little bit. Do you get where I'm coming from? Do you think I'm still tying my identity to a thing more
No, I think
than I
in
should?
the context, I wouldn't say that for you. I mean, of course, you could do a different turn of phrase, like, instead of saying, "I'm a writer," you can say, "I love to write." Right? I mean, that's if
Yeah.
that speaks to you. Um, but I think contextually, this isn't an issue for you, or at least at this juncture, it's not an issue for you. And what I mean by that, um, is I don't find, at least in this conversation that we're having, that you are like deriving all of your self-worth from being a writer, that if
Yeah.
you don't have a movie on screen or a book on the shelves or you're not being paid for it, that like you're in the dumps and you are like, what is my life? And nothing has meaning. And I don't say that to joke. That is genuinely
Yeah.
how a lot of people feel.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I just, I lived in LA for 10 years, and that is, um, sadly how a lot of people feel. So if that is how you feel, I think that's a great time to, like, question and say, "Hmm, does this serve me to identify as this? Like, is this the most interesting thing about me? Like, how do I
That's so
feel?"
good.
And if you can truly say, when people like say, "Tell me about yourself," and I say, "Well, I'm a writer," and that lights you up. You feel great. There's none of this like down in the dumps. I feel like an imposter. All these things coming up, right? Then say it. If that makes you feel
Okay.
great, then say it. But if it's this, and I've heard this so many times, if it's like, well, I'm a writer, and then you're clenching because you're like, "I know the next question that they're gonna ask me is,
What
what
books
have
have
I
you
read?
read?
What have I seen that you've written? What have I read that you've written?" And you're, like, already clenching because then you're gonna have to be like, "Well, I haven't had anything published," or like, "Well, it was, like, this obscure thing that didn't do very well," and then it's, like, this, like, terrible conversation you don't wanna have. So if that's how you're feeling, like, maybe that's not what you wanna lead with, or if you feel okay with that. I mean, I get that question all the time because my husband will often say my wife is a writer, not that I identify that way, but like if he might just say it in conversation. So what generally happens is if I meet people through him, they'll be like, "Oh, your husband," and he's proud, so he likes to talk about that stuff. So it's always the same. It's like you don't even need to say it. I know exactly what you're going to say. It's always, "Your husband told me you're a writer. What have you written that I've seen?" Like I mean, it literally is just rinse and
Every
repeat.
time.
And generally, I just will say, like, "I don't know, do you watch this?" Or like, or and I don't say it in a bad way. Like, I'm proud of "I don't know, do you watch this?" Or if it's like somebody I know for sure wouldn't watch the things that I do, I'll say, you know, "I'm gonna guess you haven't watched, thrillers like aimed toward women," or something like that. And it's like, and then it's fine. Like it's totally fine. But if you're feeling like, "Oh my gosh, this is gonna be a terrible conversation. I dread all social functions," because and a lot of people feel that way, then I think you
Yeah.
wanna start thinking about, like, how do I identify, right? If I'm clenching around this thing and you feel it in your body right away, or you're nervous or you're avoidant because you don't even wanna have those conversations, then that's when you can visit that identity piece. That doesn't speak to everybody, like, it's just my journey, um, and lots of people are not there yet, like, they still want to identify in that way, whether it makes them feel bad or not, and so I look at it as, like, I think you've gotta just do you, and go through your journey and arrive at it at whatever time you need to arrive at it, and certainly I'm not a therapist, so I can't
Oh, you did
unfortunately.
really good. This is my journaling prompt for tonight. I got work to do because
Perfect.
I that was extremely helpful. Have So has it always been true for you? Did you ever go through that phase? Because a lot of the stuff I read for writers will tell you, "Start saying you're a writer. Start saying it right now." That will so did you go through that phase even, or have you kind of always had this pretty settled? That's my work.
Mhm.
I'm this.
Yeah, that's a good question. I mean, I think because I've always been a storyteller in some capacity, I never really thought about it, right? Like I mean, I get there's validity in what you're saying, and sometimes it's like if we don't say it, who like is who else is going to
Yep.
say it? I believe that for sure.
Okay.
I don't think like for example, if I'm going into a if I'm a new writer and I'm going into a pitch meeting, right, in Studio City, California, okay, I'm going to Sony for a pitch meeting and I'm a new writer. I don't think you wanna walk in there and be like, "Well, I'm not a screenwriter yet. I haven't really done anything," right? But I think that that's kind of a normal way that you would approach a meeting, like, you would know you're not going to say that. So I think
Yeah.
in those scenarios, you do want to, like, have that confidence, walk in the room as if you already have the job or as if you've already sold the pitch, right? They wanna work with confident people, so you've gotta walk in the room with that energy. Um, but as far as, like, you talking to other peers and, like, what you say to other people, I think that's kind of up to you. I think for some people, it really helps to say, in all instances, "I may this," um,
Yeah.
and you don't have to say, like, "I'm a future, I'm an aspiring," like, you don't
Yeah,
have
yeah.
to say that. Like, I don't even worry about that. That's just say whatever you feel. Um I often find that those kinds of things come up funny enough. This is gonna sound a little judgmental, but it's just it's something I've observed over many years working in the entertainment industry and also in book publishing. I see it a lot there. Um, a lot of these kind of conversations come up around in peer circles more than anything. Like there have been many, many times in the entertainment world where I've had conversations with we'll say their peers, but people who are actually they're never working writers. They are like right. I'll still call them writers, but they haven't actually worked in the industry, right, or been paid for their work yet. And I've had lots of conversations with those people, and I would say more often than not, they'll want you to qualify. Like, well, you're a screenwriter. What do you mean? Oh, what have you written? Oh, that doesn't count. Like, it's a very odd sort of thing happening, and I see that a lot in book publishing too, where it's like, "Oh, did you get a traditional deal? Oh, no, you self-published, and it wouldn't matter how many copies you sold or how much money you've made." It's like, "Oh, but it's not right. It's not real. That didn't count." Right? And so, I will tell you though, you'll never hear those conversations among people who are working and successful because it was early in my career as a screenwriter I did a movie with Lifetime, which I'm very, very proud of, always proud of the stuff that I did. And I would hear from these folks who hadn't worked yet, they would say, "Oh, I don't think you want to tell anybody you did that. Like that doesn't really count." I'm like, "What do you mean doesn't count? I got paid. I have something produced." I was very like, "This doesn't make you don't make any sense to me." So I didn't let it get me down because it just truly from a business standpoint made absolutely no sense why they were saying that. And then I remember going and, meeting with a showrunner. They were on, like, Sons of Anarchy at the time or something, and I noticed that they had started writing these thrillers for Lifetime Network. I noticed in their IMDb page, so I was talking to him and I said, how did you get over the hurdle of, like, people telling you that, like, those movies didn't count?" He's like, "What are you talking about?" I'm like, "Okay,
What?
well," I told him, he said, "Who's telling you this?" And I said, "It's," and then I just like I had to think about it and I said, "Oh, I guess it's like people I'm in class with or whatever." And he's like, "Yeah, those people aren't working. Like they don't," he's like, "You don't listen to them." He said, people in this industry want to make money if they see that you have made money, like you've sold
Oh
something,
my
like
goodness.
you are a hot ticket." And I'm like, "Oh, right." And I was like, and I didn't need his validation for that, but it helped to put click the pieces together for me because I'm like, I didn't make sense why I was getting that feedback when I'm like, I'm a businesswoman. From a business standpoint, this makes no sense, right? Why I'm getting this feedback. Then he
Mhm.
like clicked the puzzle piece into place that
Yeah.
I don't know why they were saying that. I'm sure that was just something that was on them, not on me. However, you have to be real careful what you take in and who you're taking it in from,
Yeah.
and really like listen to your gut, because a lot of these things that, especially in career, right, this is business. Like at the end of the day, it's business and bottom line. So like if you're hearing these odd strange things like this doesn't count or this isn't good enough or this or that, right, just really listen to your gut on on that and realize maybe you don't need to listen to those people, and don't let that get
That
in
is
your head.
gold. That is gold. It kind of reminds me of the advice, don't take advice from someone you don't take criticism from someone you wouldn't take advice from. Like,
Yeah.
those people weren't doing what you dreamed of doing, so they really didn't have a place to say if what you were doing wasn't enough.
That's
That's great.
correct.
I'm so glad I brought that up and asked that question. You really helped me. I think my listeners should, listen, because I might change how I introduce myself, because even though I don't get that clinch, I'm very proud of, what I have done or whatever. But what it is I got a tattoo when I turned 48 that is like three things that just always center me, because they are really what is most important in my life. And it's a heart, because I've had just a great love story and just so much love in my life with kids and family and everything. And then a survivor ribbon, because I'm a sarcoma survivor, and then a W in kind of a typewriter writing for writing. But that is there because it strengthens me and gives me joy. Writing
Yeah.
does that for me. It's not there because it's my job.
Yeah.
So I do think, I don't know, I might adjust. And I love your advice on that, and I really appreciate it. I really want we're kind of hitting time, but I really want everybody to know about your podcast. Do you just have one podcast?
Correct. Right now, just one.
Okay, I was worried you might be one of those with multiple, and I was gonna to oversimplify you. But you have a podcast called Drip, Trickle, Flow, Flood,
Correct.
right?
Yeah, you did good.
Okay. Will you talk about I know I've been practicing, 'cause and I have listened to several episodes. Will you tell everyone how you started it and what its gist is?
Yeah, so a friend of mine, this is drip, trickle, flow, flood is his concept, and it's really about just bringing in multiple income streams, and that's how you can secure the future, the freedom that you want, which I fully believe in. As you know, I do lots of things, so I am never reliant on one income stream. I might be a storyteller, but I have lots of different income streams that are feeding that and fueling that, and investments outside of that, of course, too. So one of my goals was, for this year was to have more, and last year too, I guess, because we started it a year ago, was to have more conversations about money. I had a lot
Yeah.
of blocks about money in certain times in my life, different stories that I would tell myself about money. And I feel that it's very important that we are having open conversations about money, particularly for women, and those in marginalized populations, because I feel like that's happening even less. So it's just, I wanted to, because I was doing it more, I wanted to emulate it publicly and just show, like, look, I'm out here having these conversations. Hopefully we can inspire one person, and I know it's been more than one person at this point, but it's like, even one person to have those conversations in their life too, and that's meaningful, because we can all build wealth and have the freedom and the future that we want. So that's why we started it. We are writing a book together as well, and so we just thought we would do the podcast. Actually, the book was first, but we just decided to do the podcast as a way to put out topics, get to talk to listeners, see what people liked and what they didn't like, or what they were confused by or nervous about, and then allow that to inform the book rather than like operating in a silo and like not just writing
Yeah.
from like our perspective. I felt like that was really important, particularly because my podcast partner is like a lifelong investor and has, a much different, he's definitely more of the expert in this area than me. And so I wanted to make sure that we're not like bringing stuff that's going to feel too like far out there for folks, if that makes sense. Like I wanted to meet people where they are. And so in order to do that, um, we, talked together and decided, yeah, like let's hear from people and what they want rather than us assuming we know what they want. So we made that decision together, and then that's where we are now. And it's really a fun podcast. It's a lot of fun to
It
talk about
is.
money, and
It
in
is
a hopefully a relaxed way. and
relaxed, but so practical. I heard, the episode about watching for
Oh
scams,
yeah.
and literally the next day was at lunch with a friend whose coworker had just been completely robbed of all her
Oh
savings because of a plain old email, "You're in danger. We'll fix it for you." I
yeah.
and it was kind of someone like I get a lot of, security training through my work. I see it all the time, and so I've become more appropriately suspicious. And that's what you guys talked about on that episode. Is some people have no suspicion. They're so no guile,
Yeah.
and they just don't imagine what's happening. And so being informed is so good. And then the last episode I listened to, I think it's the most recent one, Fast Money, Slow Dreams.
Yes.
Oh, girl, you guys are speaking my language. I'm like, that's what I'm doing. I'm fundraising for the
Yeah.
dream.
Absolutely, the fast money, fun, slow dreams. That was funny because both of us were, like, tripping over those words, when we came up with that phrase, and we're like, "We can't even say this," but we went with it.
Say it again.
Fast money, funds, slow dreams.
Perfect.
And
I did. I missed the word
no,
funds.
you did it right. Like, no, you said it right. And I love the idea of it because it's one of those things where I'll hear, because I talk to a lot of creatives, what I would call creatives, um, and they feel a lot of shame around having, like, a day job or, a 9 to
Yes.
5, or, like, things that, like, are, and I'm like, "No, no, 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 no." Okay, first of all, it's very smart to do that. Look, we live in a tough economy. We've gotta all, like, make a living, right? So there's never no shame around how you earn a living, like, for anyone, as long as it's not harming anybody, of course, but I'll just throw that out there. But no shame, like, we shouldn't be shaming around how people earn a living anyway. No, 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 let's not do that. But there really is no shame around, like, the income that you're bringing in to fund maybe what we would call slow dreams. And slow dreams just means, like, something that's going to take a little bit longer time and effort, or fundraising, whatever it is, to make that happen. Like, we just had a hot sauce company on, and, like, again, that's a long road. Like, to be a consumer packaged good company, that's a long road to make your dream happen because it's extremely expensive and extremely tough to get products
Wow.
on shelves. So we were talking about that. It's like he worked a day job for 4 or 5 years of that dream, right? Because it's like that's what they needed to do, and instead of feeling like shame for that, or I'm not a real, entrepreneur because I'm doing that, it was like, no, like, you've gotta get funding from somewhere, right? If you're gonna be an entrepreneur, you've gotta get funding from somewhere. So where is that funding gonna come from? Is it a loan? Is it savings? Is it an investor? Is it a day job? Is it multiple part-time jobs? There shouldn't be shame for any of those
Yeah.
paths. If you're going to own a business, you need investment, and that's just the end of the road. And in my opinion, I think having a day job is, like, the best thing you can do because there's some security to, as long as you're bring that income in, you're investing it how you want to invest it, that leads to that dream. And there's also lots of security and health insurance and other things that are important, right? In this society. So that's my opinion on that. I think
It's
it's
a
smart.
beautiful opinion. I'm so grateful for that opinion. So I like to end with a recommendation or just you getting the last word. It's called It Worked for Me.
Mm.
And it's just something big or small that worked for you once, like an aha moment, or it regularly helps you find more purpose or meaning in life.
Mm. Yeah, I think, what worked for me is putting myself in a position where I could get a lot of no's or a lot of rejections, and doing
It's
that.
good.
I mean, I did it very early in life because I was an actor, as a as a kid. So I was, hearing that a lot, but like that also could apply to like athletes, right? Where you're not going to make every shot that you try, right? Michael Jordan's not isn't dunking every shot either. So you're going to lose games, right? Things like that. So don't feel like it has to be necessarily like a sales position or you have to be an actor or something like that. Think about like where can you be this sounds terrible, but it's like where can you be in a position of losing and losing regularly? Like go play pickleball, right? And go lose some games. Like anything where or another way you can think about it is like where can you be a beginner, a total beginner where you're going to be the worst one in the room, right? That's a really good muscle to flex, to have to be like I do not know what's going on. Everyone else does, and I do not. Go to dance class if you don't know how to dance, right? That's a great place to go. Try an instrument for the first time. Like so many different
This is
things, but
beautiful.
and it will help so much because if you are somebody who struggles with failure and rejection or getting no, which is very normal, right, to do, if you start to introduce other things into your life where it's like, oh, I I'm trying to learn guitar and I failed again. It was terrible again in my lesson. Or I went to dance class and tripped over my feet again and couldn't get the moves and stood in the back and watched, all these other people do it and I couldn't do it. That will flex that muscle in like a very low stakes way, right? There's no stakes when you're like going to Zumba or something, or going to like a local dance class, or joining a pickleball game or something. There's no stakes there, right? So you can remove the stakes and fail, lose, get rejected, get no, all those things, and start to just flex that muscle. And then when it's happening in whatever your pursuit is, which here it's probably like people starting a business or wanting to become a writer or something like that, or an artist of some sort. So where you are going to face lots of no's and rejection along the way, like it won't feel as big of a pang because
Yeah.
you're used to it. It's like, whatever. I just lost 12 pickleball games. I played 12 pickleball games and I lost all 12. Like it just, you just like shrug and move on with your day. And that starts to bleed into other parts of your life in a really seamless way. So the more you can flop, the better. Just be a flop. I should write a post about that. Like be in your flop
You should.
era because it's true. If you can I always try to do something in my life that I'm terrible at, that I'm gonna like fail and flop. Right now it's tennis. We were joking, like I wasn't even playing tennis on a tennis court. Like we're playing in a parking lot, and now like we finally went to a tennis court on Sunday. My husband is a high performance tennis coach, right? So he knows what he's doing. We went to the court and I was laughing. I'm like, I'm on the court. I was like, look at me. And it's so silly. And I'm doing terrible and balls are flying on other people's courts who do know what they're doing. But you know what? Oh well. I mean, oh well.
This is brilliant. This is brilliant. I love it so much. I'm going to restart trying to learn the shuffle dance. Shuffle
Yeah.
dance on Instagram.
Mhm.
I'm like, I'm just going to try that. And it's real hard.
Yeah.
It's real hard to look like they do, but they all say, do it slow, 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 slow until you can pick it up. And that's what I'm going to do because I run screaming from discomfort, Melissa. And
Mhm.
I'm going to try to stop that because that's another teaching in design your life type studies is you got to kind of go towards discomfort. So, but I love your perspective on it that it just makes you kind of unfazable.
Oh yeah, you'll be
So,
unflappable totally because it's just
yeah.
moving on. You remove this, you take the stakes away.
Melissa, I can't thank you enough. You were a dream guest
Oh,
for me.
thank
When
you.
you said yes, I celebrated that night. That was my celebration. Melissa said yes to be on the podcast. And it was an absolutely delightful discussion, just like everything I ever hear from you.
Mm.
Thank you.
Thank you for having me. This was so fun.
I'm so glad.